Hello everyone, this is Genius Yoshi, and today we are building a deck just in time to break the metagame. Okay, we're probably not going to be breaking the metagame, but we're going to be using the Tier 1 engine of Amber Steel, which consists of Ariel, Spectacular Singer, as well as the super powerful Steel Songs, which are a whole new world, and grab your sword. So nothing too special so far, powerful combination of cards, but what we're looking for is to use just in time. And why just in time? Well, let's think about it. A Whole New World and Grab Your Swords are known to be some of the most powerful songs in the game, and the ability to sing them from a 3-drop, in particular Ariel, is extremely powerful, and that has been proven. So, what other ways do we have to sing it early? Well, so far we've been using Stitch, and we've been shifting Big Stitch on it, which we can do as early as turn 4. And we're still going to do that. We're still going to be playing the Stitch package, Small Stitch, Shifted, and Big Stitch, sing some songs. But we're going to be playing just in time. Just in time allows us to play a character that costs 5 or less for free. So kind of like Ariel, what we play with just in time is going to be able to sing one of these deadly songs next turn, which is very powerful. Downside to just in time, well, there's a couple. There's many. It's uninkable, it costs you an extra card, it can get stuck in your hand, but you can mitigate some of these things. The fact that it costs you a card, well, if you're going to be casting a whole new world anyways, that's barely a downside. You're just using ramp to your advantage, playing more powerful threats earlier, and punishing your opponent by wiping their hands while they're not ready. And then to deal with the fact that we have a lot of uninkable cards that we don't necessarily want, so 2 copies of Whole New World, 2 copies of Just in Time, or not really at a good time type of card, well, there is a solution, and the name is Simba Future King. When you play Simba Future King, you may draw a card and discard a card. Also, Simba Future King goes really well with Stitch Rockstar, as you get to go through a bunch of cards. You want the early drops for Stitch anyways, and this allows us to cycle duplicate copies that we don't want, or a badly timed just in time. And then we just need to complete our curve. So we're going to be playing the Lilo package. Maybe I'm pushing my luck here a little bit with the uninkable count. If you don't feel comfortable with it, well, you can play an other early drop, maybe a Captain Hook, for example. Perfectly acceptable. I also want to play the Simbas, because Simbas are good protectors. Lilo Simba, great package. And now, well, before I forget, we're playing just in time, and this is 5 or less for free. So we need some 5-drops. Are there any good 5-drops? Yes, there are. There's Beast, Hard-Headed. Blow up an opponent's lantern on turn 3? Sign me up. It can be devastating. Then there's Maximus, a 4/5 bodyguard supporter. Well, if you don't have the Simba to protect your Lilo, maybe you'll have the Maximus to do so. Super strong bodyguard and very solid stats, especially if you can drop it on turn 3 or 4 with it just in time. It's a big wall that makes it hard for your opponent to get to our more aggressive characters. And then there's Goofy, Musketeer. Slightly weaker wall, but still a 3/6 bodyguard to protect our weaker questers. So we want a bit more questing going on, so we can play a pair of Lefous. Just another cheap costed 2 quester. And then, well, I'm a bit greedy, so I'm going to be playing some Tinkerbells. Because if we can play Lilo into Stitch into Stitch, we can also play Tinkerbell into Tinkerbell. I do have to make some cuts somewhere, so I'm only going to be playing 2 copies of the smaller Tinkerbell, going up to 56 cards. And then we're still looking for one more card. If we look, nice 1-drops, 2-drops, 3-drops. Oops, we're missing some 4s. Oh yes, There's the best 4-drop in the game. Well, haven't really thought about this too much, but at least one of the best, if not the best. With Rapunzel gifted with healing, sign me up for a playset, and we've completed our deck. So we have a bunch of 1-drops and 2-drops, enough to make Stitch Rockstar a threat. We have the Stitch to Stitch, the Tinkerbell into Tinkerbell, the Ariel Singer of Doom, and the Just in Time with the 3 5-drops that can all sing the deadly package of A Whole New World and Grab Your Sword. The goal of the deck is just to get these 5-drops out earlier, to keep on chugging out 5-drops later in the game, or to go with Stitch and a handful of 1-drops and dominate the board, so we can go a bit bigger or go wide, slightly slower than the traditional version, but we can go a bit bigger, which is very good in a mirror match, because the only removal that Steel has is Grab Your Sword. And Grab Your Sword has some difficulty dealing with 5 or 6 willpower characters. And we have a ton, and we're going to be dropping a ton with this deck. So without further ado, let's see the deck in action with some games. Let's see what we have this game. We're just missing a Just in Time. We have A Whole New World, we have a bunch of inkable 5-drops. Lilo, Lefou. Let's keep the curve. Send a pair of Goofies back. See what we get. We get the Just in Time. And that is perfect. Opponent goes Stitch. We will ink a Stitch and play a little Lilo. Passing the turn back to our opponent. Our first 2 quests are at the ready. Opponent is going for some Sapphire Amber shenanigans. We find the ideal follow-up in the form of Simba. What can Amber play? That would hurt me. The other option is I go Lefou and then Just in Time and Maximus. But Maximus isn't that great against that board because of Phil. So yeah, I'm going to go with the turn 2 Simba as a bodyguard. And go questing. Maybe I shouldn't have quested with Lilo now that I think about it, because Phil can just take out Simba. Yeah, that was a misstep. Obvious one. I spent too much time thinking in my head about Phil's ability to boost the power of Stitch. That's okay. Here, what do I want to do? I think I want to ink Small Stitch. Well, no, I want to play Maximus off of Just in Time. Then next turn, I want to be able to sing A Whole New World using Maximus. I want Stitch on the board too. So I guess I ink Rapunzel, since she's not one of the cards that I mentioned wanting to play, and play a Maximus Just in Time for a 5 bodyguard. Take that, opponent. Take that. Getting to play it ahead of time, or just at the right time, as the card is saying. Ooh, opponent plays Eye of the Fates. The quest increaser. Opponent quests. Rapunzel's a nice draw. So I like having the option of singing A Whole New World. But the Rapunzel is just too good to pass up. So our opponent doesn't have A Whole New World. So we get to decide when we play it. We're gonna fight with Maximus. Oh yeah, we still need to ink something. We'll ink a Small Stitch, because I like the big Stitch. Play Rapunzel. Heal my horse. Draw 2 cards. Pass the turn back. Even though we had the ability for an early song, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right play. Opponent inks a Rapunzel, goes up to 6. When Robin comes in, drawing a card for opponent. Robin in the hood. In the neighborhood, trying to, well, draw our opponent some cards and making sure that we don't do anything annoying with evasive characters. We're gonna ink one of these big stitches, play a Goofy normally, only heals Musketeer, so we couldn't heal Maximus, even if we do decide to take out Mickey. And now our opponent has 3 questing powered on board. I'm just going to quest. Actually, I get to support Rapunzel. I'm still only going to quest. I want the lore off of this, and I have a nice grab your sword sitting at the ready. I can sing it with either Maximus or Goofy. I can even sing a whole new world off of them. Nothing like board wipe, hand wipe, and I still have all my ink ready to go. Opponent making use of that Eyes of the Fate on the Mickey to quest to 8. Robin will probably quest to 10. Then we'll see what our opponents have in store for us. Hades. Hades picks up Phil. Phil goes to the ink. I really like that. Lord of the Underworld Hades. Pretty cool card. Now what do I want to do here? I almost certainly want to ink the Tinkerbell. I can play the Stitch and sing both songs. But then I give away all the tempo back to our opponent. But I have a pretty significant board. So in that case, it feels like the right thing to play. We can leave our opponent with Robin Hood. Let's go with that. Stitch Rockstar. Sing and grab your sword with Goofy, dealing tons of damage to our opponent's board. Sing a whole new world, using Maximus, drawing a mitt full of new cards. And then, what did we draw? Our only removal here is Tinkerbell, so we're going to manually remove that Mickey Mouse, taking it off of the battlefield, and we'll pass the turn back to our opponent. Who's at 7 ink? But we have a pretty threatening board here, and our opponent's only sorts of removal are Hades and Let It Go, and the color pair that they're playing. We don't have to worry about Grab Your Sword, and our characters are pretty tanky anyways. Opponent sings a Let It Go. That's a good way to start for opponent, getting rid of our Maximus, but we get an ink as part of the exchange. Opponent hard casting a Let It Go, sending Stitch to our ink pool. And the Simba wraps up our opponent's turn. Let her grab your sword here. It's a nice one. How do we best optimize this hand? Rapunzel feels like a nice thing to play. Have 8. I can go to 9. Probably will. Actually, Lefou and Lilo can help me win the game. So let's ink Simba. I don't overly care for Simba. If I want to go Lilo Lefou, it leaves me 6. 6 gives me Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell's not great here. Maybe I can just fight the Simba with Goofy. Draw some cards. keeping Goofy at full power. And then I get to unleash a barrage of small characters on the battlefield. Then you can bodyguard. That way we have 2 bodyguards for our array of smaller characters. And we'll just pass the turn back. And you can just go wide off of this. Rapunzel giving us a ton of value. As the opponent plays a Maleficent and a Mickey, whatever is left in their hand. Maleficent uninvited. Robin will quest for 3. We don't have quite lethal. You probably want to sing at least one of the grab your swords. So let's sing it with Goofy, because we want Goofy to be exerted anyways. Our opponent can quest for 4, which is not overly threatening. We can even play a Tinkerbell. Just take out the Mickey. No real reason to go after anything else, as we can just quest, and the opponent has no answer on their turn, which gives us the victory. Just in time for victory. Even though we played it a long time ago. Did help us build quite a bit of pressure. Alright, what do we get this game? We're getting one just in time, a Lilo. Nice little bodyguard to play. I just want to make sure I have enough inkables. Actually, I'm just going to keep it as is. Lots of stuff to ink. Don't have a 2-drop, but that's okay. No. Yeah, I'm going to ink the Maximus. Just in case I want to play the Stitch. Thinking of inking Stitch next turn. We'll open up with a Lilo. Applying some pressure as the opponent inks a Mini. Plays Eric, so Steel Amber versus Steel Amber. Somewhat of a mirror match going on here, which means we need to be careful about grab your swords and a whole new world, but we're gonna be faster in this whole new world. I think the Simba is more useful to me than the Stitch. Both are likely to hit the ink pool, but I'll start with the Lilo. The Stitch, I mean. Sorry, Lilo, you can't have your partner from the video in here. Opponent goes for Tinkerbell and quests with the prince. Rapunzel, Rapunzel. We have 2. 2's a little too many, because we need something to play just in time. And yeah, you can bodyguard. That way we get a quest with Lilo, and both of our opponent's character would have to trade with Maximus. Even if our opponent hits a big Tinkerbell, they still can't really get to Lilo. Although that's a way to get to Lilo. Just smashing through. Should have been more careful about that. But Lilo's done some questing. Can't ask for too much. Gonna ink a Simba and hardcast a Rapunzel. That feels bad. But realistically, she's a 1/5 quest for 2, and even when her ability doesn't trigger, she's a threat on the battlefield. Fairly big questing threat. Also, I need to be wary about the threat of a whole new world that our opponent could be playing at any point in time, which makes card advantage completely irrelevant. Hit a Stitch Rockstar. I don't think our opponent is going to be playing too many items. But do I want the 4/4 or do I want the 3/6? The 3/6 makes it hard for our opponent to deal with grab your sword. But the 4/4 trades better with this board. I think I'm going to play around the grab your sword. And go after Goofy. Yeah, you can bodyguard. That'll allow Miss Rapunzel to quest. Bodyguarding Goofy the Musketeer. Opponent goes after the big tink. Just hard casted. Just why not? We're gonna send a Stitch to the ink pool. That's interesting. I think I want a Tinkerbell back. I'm gonna Stitch, because the wider the board gets, the better Tinkerbell is. And the earlier I play Stitch, the better it is. So I'm gonna play them in that order. And now if I quest, I don't like the Rapunzel hit, Tinkerbell hits ping something for 2 with Tinkerbell still alive. So I'm gonna just pass the turn back. We have the threatening card here with Stitch Rockstar. As opponent is playing Ariel, trying to find a song. Opponent doesn't find a song. So now we get the extra hit with our Tinkerbell. I'm going to take it now because I want to spend all my ink. Deal a bunch of damage. If I just quest with everything, what can my opponent have? Sings grab your sword, everything takes 2, Tinkerbell tackles. Goofy pings Stitch for 2, Rapunzel takes out Stitch. Then the opponent has mostly exerted and I can have a pretty good counter with Tinkerbell myself. So I think I'm gonna go quest. Because the about worst case scenario I can think of, I still get the 4 lore. Okay, opponent decided not to make me discard. But Mustafa's Spirit just decides to put it in ink. 2 cards left. If the opponent casts a whole new world, I'm happy with this because that little tiny tactician not doing that great in my hand. Opponent sacrifices the small Tinkerbell, smashes Goofy. Okay. Small Tinkerbell goes for the kill, so she can ping my Tinkerbell or Stitch Rockstar. Opponent's afraid of Stitch. Alright, opponent's going to trade most of its remaining board to take out Stitch Rockstar. That's fine, I understand that. But this leaves us with the beautiful beat up Rapunzel. Ping Tinkerbell for 2, play Tinkerbell, and just finish her off. As we're now sitting to 2 Tinkerbells to 0, which is a pretty strong lead. Especially with 10 ink on the battlefield, 10 lore on the battlefield. Hades, King of the Underworld, goes and fetches another Tinkerbell. Well, I guess we just dump our hand on the battlefield. You can bodyguard, and we'll quest, because we're on the 14, kind of close to the edge of winning. And there's another Tinkerbell, really a Tinkerbell mirror match in every sense of the word, except if we were playing a card with mirror on it. Stitch Rockstar is pretty good draw here. Yeah, Tinkerbell can take out my Tinkerbell, which is troublesome. But if she does that, she can't take out my small Tinkerbell. Well, I'm going to be playing Stitch Rockstar. Start there. And 3, 4, 5, 6. We can quest for lethal next turn. So I'll just pass the turn here. Forcing our opponent to deal with our very real threat of lethal damage without having any combat is going to make our opponent's life more difficult because of Tinkerbell's ability. Opponent finds a Stitch Serve Dude, but that's not enough. particular, the opponent doesn't have enough ink, so we take the game using a bunch of powerful 5-drops that just bullied our opponent into losing the game. Let's see what we have this game. Have a decent curve, although I don't have a bodyguard, so I'm going to send Lilo back. I'm just going to send Lilo back. The rest of the curve is decent. I would like it just in time. But we don't always have to have it. Opponent opens with a flounder. Now we have a pair of grab your swords. I do need to ink something here. I'm going to ink a beast. I don't need double beast. Do I want to play the Simba? Not really. Simba doesn't do anything. I'll keep it for a rainy day where I might be able to ink it. Opponent's going for a small Aurora. And quest for one of Flounder. Here I think I prefer the Stitch to the Lefou. Just getting a bit more stats on the board, so I'm going to ink Stitch. Ink Lefou, play the Stitch. Next turn I can play Ariel and get the party started. Unless the opponent shifts a big Aurora here, which would be troublesome for us. Okay, opponent's playing a Simba. Just questing for 3. Let me find another Stitch. Alright. Well, we have to play Ariel. Let's ink the Stitch. Play the Spectacular Singer, and we find nothing. But Ariel is still a fantastic card. Will allow us to sing a Grab Your Sword. That would be completely devastating if our opponent's board remains the same, or if they add other weaker characters, like a bell. Yeah, Grab Your Sword is going to be utterly devastating here for our opponent. Our opponent that questing quite a bit. Quite a bit here. Simba goes to the ink. I no longer need you. And I'm going to sing Grab Your Swords. And that's why steel is such a strong color, among other things. But best removal in the land is a good way to start. And our opponent's ahead on lore, so let's just trade with the Simba. And we can play our own. Well, might as well bodyguard it. I'd prefer to keep Ariel on the battlefield. That bell does quest for 2, which is an annoyance. If I recall, she reduces the cost of the next item by 1. Let's bring her up on the screen. Yeah, whenever she quests, your next item costs 1 less. Very small discount, but as a 2-quester 3-drop, that's alright. Opponent inks a small Aurora and plays Moana. Alright, big stuff coming down. Here my hands are a bit tied. I have to ink a Tinkerbell. Play Beast so I don't fall behind too much on tempo. And I have to start questing because I can't really challenge here. I'll pass the turn back. Could sing a Grab Your Sword to take out Bell. But our opponent is likely to be playing a lot of bigger hit point characters, or just more princesses, and wanted not to overcommit to the board. And Moana is a big threat. I need to deal with Moana. See, now I can play Grab Your Sword. I can sing it. Then I can... yeah, I can sing it with Ariel. Spectacular Singer doing her thing. Now I have 2 good fights. And I think I'd rather get the card draw. can also just play Tinkerbell to take out this Simba, but I'd rather have the super high value Rapunzel. Actually, it's a 2 value Rapunzel. It's not the highest. Still 2 cards. 2 cards and some healing. And we'll ink a Tinkerbell and pass the turn. I would have preferred something else inkable, keeping the Tinkerbell. I guess the way I played it, she was an Tinkerbell. Opponent is pondering what to do while developing their brain. Oh, an opponent has nothing. Alright, well, we'll capitalize on that. And the opponent doesn't have any board wipes, so let's play our Tinkerbell. Putting a big clock on our opponent. MVP of this game is definitely Grab Your Sword with Ariel Spectacular Singer, but the opponent doesn't have anything to follow up, and so we take the game. I hope that you've enjoyed this gameplay video featuring this Amber Steel variant using Just in Time. It's using a very strong shell that's proven its successes, and it's leveraging Just in Time in order to play a bunch of 5-drops that are awesome for singing these big songs. Now in the games we haven't seen overly powerful turn 4 whole new world because our opponent's been emptying their hands quite a bit, and honestly we haven't really drawn into it. But dropping a bunch of 5-drops and having them available to sing multiple songs in one turn and still drop another big threat has been quite powerful. While the deck is a bit more clunky, and I do prefer the more standard version, just the lean and mean machine, this just-in-time deck might be a good way to deal with the mirror match, since we can have access to these higher willpower characters and a bit ease out the vulnerability to Grab Your Sword. I hope that you've enjoyed the games. I hope that you've enjoyed the deck. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. If you want to see more variations on certain archetypes and all the cool stuff that we can do with them. And don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate it when you do, and when you leave a comment and thumbs up. Well, you can only leave one, but I really appreciate them. So again, thank you all for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.